What's up, internet? Nerd alert here. Brandon with Jimmy. And this isn't something we really like. We're bringing it up because it is affecting the comic book industry. This is not our intention to get political, despite us just spending 20 minutes talking about the cops adapting a Punisher logo. But as locals here in Vegas, we met through a comic book store, Maximum Comics, and it's been our go-to store since it opened. And I think that store specifically has helped build a pretty solid community here in Las Vegas. And I've met roommates through there. I've met people, friends that I've been with forever through that store. And
And no lie,
they
you're a young pup, so no lie, this is like the best comic book store I've experienced in my life. Like, I'm not talking about, oh, I went to New York City and hit them up or whatever. No, the one that I continually go to, basically my local comic book shop. And I've lived in Ohio, I've lived in Tennessee, a little bit in Florida and Vegas. This is by far my favorite. And one of the main reasons is Jay and the way he picks and chooses and trains his staff. So you go in there, and I'm sure if you can remember the first time you went into a comic book store or continually do it, they ignore the shit out of you. You just kind of walk where you're going. You kind of look awkwardly trying to find stuff. Never a second have I ever experienced that in any of the Maximum comic stores that they've had over the years. It's always friendly. Hey, can we help you? What can I do for you? What are you looking for? Let me give you some suggestions. Always friendly. And I'm not even talking now where they know me. I'm talking about when I first started and had no idea what comic book store to go to. Always a phenomenal experience at Marvel or Maximum Comics.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's like I said, really built a sense of community through the store and the people that shop there. And I haven't seen many other stores speak out about any of this, but he just kind of posted a newsletter the other day just saying, like, look, with these tariffs, the comic book industry is getting hit really hard. Most of
And
the
I learned that. I had
supplies.
no idea. Like, I'm like, yeah, tariffs suck. But then when Jay went further, as I just interrupted you, I was like, I had
No,
no
no, no,
idea.
you're good.
Go ahead.
I didn't realize it either. Most of the comics printed come from Canada, and most of the supplies come from China. And with that, prices have had to go up for comic books 25%. And that I think the rough math on that was like a $3.99 book goes to $6 and change. And when everybody like somebody who doesn't read comic books isn't really going to give a shit about this, but this is just something that if this is a hobby of yours, you are going to be affected by this. This is something that is drastically going to change not only what you're reading, but how much you can read, how much you can afford and do. And I don't know, just something we kind of
It's not
wanted to
going
talk
to hit.
about.
Yeah, and it's not going to hit like the Deadpool comic books or the Spider-Man comic books or the Batman comic books. It's going to hit those smaller, more even independent publishers where they can't afford to do this. But then it's going to hit the comic book local comic book shops, the brick and mortars themselves, because it's not like they clear a ton of money per month. Despite the popularity of the movies, they really are still clinging to life. Like, I remember in the 90s, it was hard to find a local comic book shop because they were just getting wiped out, not being able to sustain themselves. Jay has been amazing. I mean, 20 plus years. What are they celebrating? I can't remember. Like 25.
Don't
It's
tell
been
me that, because I was like employee number one at that place, and if that means that's been that long, I'm way too fucking old.
yes,
I,
you
I
are.
I literally started working there like when I was 19. So
But
yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, that's the longevity of a comic book shop and in normalcy, which doesn't really happen. So for him to post this and be concerned, it's like, yeah, this is for real. And I guess this is the political part that I shouldn't get into, but I will. It's like, these aren't you and me making decisions that are going to affect him. These are billionaires basically fucking with us, and it sucks
Well,
because
yeah, no,
they
because
don't
like,
have the problem we do on the local level.
well, that's the other thing about this is, DC and Marvel have both moved to apps, and they are like, that's the thing with this is like the price of digital comics will not go up because it's digital and it doesn't cost them anything. So the big wigs, Marvel, DC, and I assume maybe Dark Horse and Image. I'm not totally sure if they have apps as well for their stuff. But digital readers, digital platforms are almost going to be celebrating this because it's going to push everybody to digital, and then they can make more money direct, not going through a store like that. But who's really going to suffer is not only the brick and mortar comic book stores, but independent books as well. And we all love our superheroes, and we all love the Marvel universe and the DC, the DC movies come out and stuff. Like, we all love those heroes, and if it weren't for them, you wouldn't have independent books, people to get into these things or write these stories. But like, independent comics are great, man. There are some really good writers out there, some really good stories. I do focus a lot on my reviews and stuff with DC, but I want to spend more time with independent stuff. I try to buy trades with those. I've gotten to the point in my life that collecting single issues can only take up so much room. So I do try to get more trades now down the line. But I think that's the biggest thing is not only having it affect independent books, but these independent writers who now won't get a chance to write for Marvel or DC or do stuff on their own. Because it kind of goes in waves. You're that independent writer, you get a small book at one of the big publishers, you catch on, then you're James Tynion writing Batman, and then you leave DC to go do all your own independent stuff. I saw a while back, a lot of writers went to Substack, and I don't think that worked out as well as some of them thought it was going to, with the Substack exclusive books. I don't know. I don't have numbers on that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I just think this is bad overall for so many reasons. And I think now's the time, if you are a Wikipedia reader, to go into a comic book store, and it might cost you a little bit more, but just pick up a trade of a book you like. Or, if you live in Vegas, ask the staff at Maximum, and they will give you great suggestions. Look for some
And
independent books.
that's something that I think is a little short-sighted within the industry, is because, okay, cool, Marvel and eventually Warner Brothers will get people in the theaters to see their movies, but what then? Like, you aren't going to get new readers. The source material is, yes, almost 100 years old for DC, 80 plus years for Marvel, but where are the writers going to come from? Are you just going to have screenwriters? Heaven forbid you have AI just collating all this shit. But you aren't going to have the opportunity, or that kid, and yeah, I'm getting nostalgic, walking into a comic book store, having free comic book day, and being like, I'm going to dress up as my favorite character. Or, hey, Jay, I love this. Who should I read? What's next? What's going on? You're going to be sitting here like you and I will bounce ideas back and forth, but I won't get a fresh perspective on who I need to check out. What's this new book? What's the industry doing? What's this rumor? What's going on as far as the comic books themselves? And I know a lot of people are frustrated with storylines within Marvel, or frustrated in storylines with Star Wars. Comic books are a great way to be like, you know what? I don't like what's going on in the TV show. I don't like what's going on in the movies. I've got this whole line of comic books, paper comic books, that I am going to read. Mainly, I mean, you and I have talked about this, Darth Vader for Star Wars. Oh my God, his series are always so good. Love it.
Every Vader series has been
Yeah,
outstanding.
phenomenal. But they won't be doing that if they don't. Even if digital, they'll cut back on what they're producing, because they won't. There's no end goal for that, as far as, oh, we're going to use that in the movie. No, you're not. I get it. Okay. But then, like I just said, I would have never discovered. I remember being in Tennessee and getting tired of. I even believe it was the Onslaught miniseries, just crossover series. I hated it, and I was trying to find something else that would get my going. And the comic book store owner there in Tennessee, I think it was American Comics, a long time ago, suggested an independent book from Valiant, which, as you know, Brandon, Quantum and Woody.
I was like, I knew that was coming up. Yep.
And I wouldn't get that if I wasn't in a comic book shop. So those sorts of things and those interactions.
You're there?
Plus, I hit the keyboard and I get the microphone, turns it off.
That's how it works. Perfect.
So we're not going to have those interactions anymore where it's, hey, give me a new idea. Give me a fresh look. It'll be, hey, you know what? There's a new Spider-Man. There's a new Batman. Oh, cool. I haven't read that one. So we'll be funneled into just the most popular from the movies, from the TV shows, from the animations. And we won't have these new characters that we're finding.
Yeah. And like, I don't know. When we thought about talking about this, and I wasn't really even sure where we were going with it or where it was, but like it's one of those things that like this is a time where I understand things are hard for everybody, and it hasn't been it's not the easiest time for people right now. But if you have anything you can spend, go to a local, don't go to Amazon, don't order it offline. I'm actually pretty sure you can order stuff off of Maximum Comics' website too.
I believe they've got to that,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and just pick a character, pick a run, pick a volume. Like if you can get a volume 1 of something, just start reading. I promise you, it's way more fulfilling to have that in your hands, and you're supporting a local business. We're hoping that all of this dumb shit gets figured out, and we can go back to some semblance of normality for whatever reason they thought this was a good idea. But just this is when you need support things, and it's way more fulfilling to read a book. You get to see the artwork, you get to see the emotion and the storytelling and the story building when you have it in your hands versus hopping online and reading a summary or watching a summary. Like this is
Just
what you need to be doing.
I have Marvel Unlimited, so I can read back issues, and I'm sitting there on my phone when I'm like watch at the kids' dance recital or whatever, and I'm waiting. It's not the same because it's like this screen versus beautiful pages of art. It's
Yeah, I'll be honest, even with like books, I don't do Kindle. I don't like having the other thing is like I've always been a collector. I buy a lot of my movies as much as I can too, because I just don't like the idea of not having it myself. Like owning it is different than having somebody dictate to you what can and can't be read whenever you want it or watch whenever you want it. And I like I said, I don't really know what our thing was with this, but we're just trying to tell people like this is affecting an industry that is changing in front of our eyes. And as much as, even if you're a fan of the movies, like understand that if this starts affecting brick and mortar, this stuff's going to change forever, and it's not going to be as good, and the stories you get are not going to be as good. And it just, yeah, I think this is the time to go and pick up a book and read it yourself. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but anything you can spare at the time to help not only just a local business, but an industry that is really going to need this. Like you kind of said with AI and stuff, that's where a lot of this stuff could be heading. And if we go straight to digital, I don't think it's a good route. And yeah, go to your local comic book store.
And nerdlings, let me tell you a sad story, or what could be a sad story in another dimension, where Jimmy doesn't go to Blackest Night premiere from Green Lantern and meets his future nerdy best friend Brandon.
Look at that. All because we went to a comic book store we supported.
Exactly.
And yeah, just go support your local store. There are a lot of them are going through it right now, and it's going to mean everything to go there and pick up your physical copies. Like I say, you don't have to have a pull if it's not what you're into, but just pick a team, pick a character, grab a volume.
Ask if you can't make it into Maximum Comics or your local comic book shop, hit them up on Facebook, send them a message, whatever. Usually they love to speak nerd. I know Maximum does, but other comic book shops, they just love to be nerdy. So ask them questions
Yeah,
or ask us. Hell, we'll give you our opinions.
absolutely.